Hello, Tony. Hello, everyone. So nice seeing you again.
Hey, how's it going? Hello, everybody out there in the social media land.
There you go. We
Yeah.
are like so far away, so much apart, yet so close and together.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank God for technology and communication.
Thank
So
you. Yeah.
I wanted to show you a video really quick. It's just an AI video, but I thought it might set the premise for what we can kind of chit chat a little bit. And curious also to get your thoughts on victimization, except for I want to take an interesting twist and not talk about the dog as the victim in this case. So let's check out this video. I'll share it really quickly with you. Let's see here. Screen broadcast. Should be able to see my screen now here.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
The dog you love. The dog you love. Every year, 850,000 dog bite victims require medical attention. 400,000 of them are children. The tragedy? These children are often blamed for the assault, while we continue to love and protect the dogs that harm them. The most dangerous dogs can also be the most loving. Yet there is no universally accepted program to treat or prevent canine aggression. Dog trainers, popular on TV and YouTube, often promise quick fixes, but these claims obscure the reality. Solving dog aggression takes time, patience, and understanding. People are led to believe that they can trust their dogs too soon, leading to disasters that could have been avoided. It's not that these owners haven't sought help, they have. But the information out there is riddled with contradictions and misconceptions. A study from the University of Leicester found that owners of aggressive dogs are often careful, reliable, and thoughtful, contrary to the stereotype of irresponsibility. But finding the right guidance in a sea of misinformation is a daunting task. Unfortunately, many popular dog trainers resort to extreme methods, claiming they can fix reactive dogs. But the truth is, some problems, especially those rooted in genetics, cannot be trained away. Great dogs start with excellent breeders. The billions of poorly bred dogs flooding our cities have created a perfect storm of aggression and misunderstanding. The sad reality is that when these damaged dogs reach a critical mass, the harm is felt everywhere: schools, parks, even within our homes. But there is hope. Most dogs never cause harm, and with the right approach they can live peacefully with their families. Always adopt from ethical breeders who prioritize stable temperaments. Avoid trainers who promise fast results. Socialize your dog in controlled environments and teach your children to respect your dog's space. Dogs are not just pets, they're companions. Let them run, play, and be themselves, just as we dance to our own rhythms. But if your dog's behavior is causing you anxiety and tension, remember, you deserve to be happy. Visit tony-nila.com for more information and guidance on finding a solution that works for you and your dog. A pound of prevention is worth a ton of cure. Your health and happiness are worth it.
So, hold on, let me stop sharing my camera here real quick. All right. So basically, we've all seen, the videos on YouTube. I mean, I just go on YouTube and I just punch in dog aggression, and I see just tons of videos of people being attacked or owners letting their dogs sniff other dogs and killing another dog, especially.
Wait, just a second. I don't see a video. You maybe accidental. Okay, now you're back.
Oh, okay. You didn't see? Did you not see me earlier? Oh, okay.
No, now you are good. Now you're good. Okay.
Okay. So, I was just kind of looking things up, and I read the statistic that every year 850,000 dog bite victims require medical attention, of which 400,000 are children. And I just thought, oh my gosh, that's just like the saddest thing. And then while victim blaming is discouraged amongst humans, children actually fall victim to reactive dogs are commonly the ones blamed for the assault. And I had mentioned this to you, I think, on a previous podcast where I had a mother call me and she wanted help, working with her dog. And she said that one of the most recent incidences where her child and her dog were in the kitchen and she heard her child scream, go, and then when she went in there, the dog had bitten the child. And I asked her immediately, I said, okay, really important, what did you do once that happened? And her response was super upsetting to me because she said, oh, I told my son, what did you do? I asked him what he did. And I thought, your son's the victim, not the dog. And I said, it doesn't matter what your son did. It's his dog.
I think both of them are victim of mom and that environment in which the dog is raised in order to protect, right?
If my mom, you think the motherly instincts would kick in, but I'm telling you, my mom is from Central America, Guatemala, tiny little Spanish woman. If my pet dog would have bitten me for anything, because I hugged it, it's my dog. My mom would have kicked that dog out of the house. There's just no way. The last thing my mom would have done is said, what did you do? What did you do to the dog that made him bite you? I can understand that if it's a stranger's dog, you shouldn't be running up to a stranger. It's my dog, right? So I just thought that was so upsetting to me. But here's the thing is, go ahead.
But that environment in which, because, we always think that a dog is something, we need to control the dog with this and with that and with words and with training and with gadgets and all kinds of things. But actually what we fail to do is to teach dog self-control. The best control is a self-control, either for us or for any animal. So how do we put the dog on the pedestal in the family in which dog can choose to be the child? It's the dog that has a decision-making power within the family. And that's not on the dog. The dog is outcome of the environment in which he's raised, or they are raised by that way, with that perception that now dog is in charge and he can name and mark and place the child wherever they see fit.
Yeah.
But where that perception of the dogs is coming from, it's mom's responsibility or the dad's responsibility to raise that dog in that environment that includes child, to know that he comes last in a pack. If we want to raise the dogs within the family, we said, I don't know where I said and did we said, but I'm quite sure we went through this, like a pack. Animal, like a dogs, are group pack-oriented animals. That is why they were able to blend such nicely in the human families and environment, because the family of the humans is a pack on its own as well. So what is a characteristic for the pack? Every single member of that group knows its position and responsibility, what comes with it. So why would dog choose to beat the child? Because the structure in which that dog lives is not meeting the dog's expectation. It comes, alpha pair comes first, dad and mom comes first, siblings of the different generation, offspring of the different generation, kids of ours, and just lastly the dog, if everything is properly communicated. And that's exactly what you did now, what you say. If the dog beats the child and mom comes in and asks the child, what did you do? She immediately structures that pack order in which dogs goes above the child.
Yeah.
If mom is respected as an alpha, if the mom of that family that you were just talking about was respected as an alpha, the siblings, the lower ranking members, had a conflict. One took some actions over the other. The dog took action over the child. Okay. Now mom is coming in, looks to their offspring, the fight, what happened there. Who does he choose? Usually she would choose the lower ranking family to say, do not go where you shouldn't go.
Yeah.
placing a dog again higher in the rank rather than the child. And you are completely right. It's a dog responsibility to be last in line. But who's gonna place them there?
Yeah. Or actually, in all honesty, a lot of dogs, if they're uncomfortable, a balanced dog should always go through avoidance first. I see it all the time, even in dog parks. I see dog parks are all having, their dogs are having fun at dog parks. I see one dog is a little bit overwhelmed, and the response is usually always the same. It just separates itself from the group of dogs that are playing. Avoidance is like the number one go-to. But one of the things too is, I'm just noticing that, I know we focus a lot on the dogs being victimized, and I know we focus on, the dog, it's not the dog's fault and those kind of things. But then it goes into this extreme that the humans don't recognize that they're being victimized or they're in an abusive relationship. For example, and I mentioned this to you before as well. I had this woman call me for a consultation, and I said, "Hey, why don't you just go ahead and fill me in on what's going on? I'll see what I can do to help you." And it's not just this specific client; it's a lot of clients that call me with the same exact thing. And I'm sure maybe you hear it too. They'll say something like, "Sasha, let me tell you about my dog. First off, he's a wonderful dog. He's a great dog. I can walk him off the leash. He's good with other dogs. He is so good with children. He cuddles with me on the couch. He's not aggressive over toys or food. He's not possessive over me. But when he doesn't get his way, he'll attack me. I've been bit 5 times. I had stitches here. He bit me on the lip once, and I had to go to the emergency. But other than that, he's a great dog. And I know it's not his fault. It's my fault. It's something I'm doing. But I know that with the right help, I can help him." And I think in my mind, that sounds a lot like a victim. And her not realizing that. And what I mean by victim is just replace the dog with the husband. Going to a marriage and family therapist. "Hey, my spouse is amazing. Always make sure the lights are on. Always make sure there's food on the table. Always gets the kids dropped off at school. Always knows to pick them up. Always supportive of my hopes and dreams. It's just that on occasion, if I don't make the sandwich right, I get slapped in the face. But other than that, he's a great spouse. And I know it's not him. It's me. It's me. I made the sandwich wrong. I did something wrong. It's me." Doesn't that sound really familiar? So
no, it does. It does sound familiar, but we are talking about actually now the question becomes like, are we talking about the group? Again, we are back to the same point. Alpha and leader is not abusive towards any member of the pack, but they are very strict. They can actually expel the son from the pack because he doesn't behave as the pack should. No one is biting no one. No one is hurting no one within the pack order. Packs of the wolf in between members of the different pack, they're going to kill each other. But the members of the same pack would almost never kill each other. The maximum penalty that can go for not obeying to the rules of the pack would be expelling, pushing them out from the pack. But no one is bullying no one.
I mean, hey, when me and my dad were bumping heads, because I was becoming a young man, my dad didn't, beat the hell out of me and put me in a hospital to be dominant over me. He basically said, "It sounds like it's time for you to get your own place, go out into the world and be your own man." And so I wanted to make sure before we move on too, that a lot of people are not confused, because I know you're saying that there's the alpha of the pack and there's a structure of the pack. And I want to make sure that people understand that I know that a lot of people think that the dominance theory has been debunked. And David Meck, studying the wolves, realizing that he was studying wolves in captivity, and this is where the dominance and the alpha and the beta and the omega come in. But when we're referring to alpha, when we're referring to beta, I want people to know that we're not referring it to as a dominant structure. We're referring to it as a hierarchy, and the hierarchy can be found not just in a dog structure, but in a family structure. Your father, your boss, the president of the United States, That's all considered an alpha position. It doesn't necessarily mean a dominant position. It just means a hierarchy. And a hierarchy you can see in fish, in the school of fish. You can see a hierarchy in a flock of birds. You can see a hierarchy in
everywhere.
a herd of horses. Yeah, there's a hierarchy everywhere. But I just want to make sure that people understand that there is a universal truth in the animal kingdom, and that there's always a hierarchy. But we're not referring to dominance as in order to get that hierarchy, there had to be like a battle royale or something like that. Fight, who could fight the best. I just want to make sure people understand that as we're talking.
I guess no one is promoting dominance here, and no one is promoting dominance in a way of bullying is not a concept interaction within the group system. Yeah. And when you have anyone bullying anyone else, it's because the member of the pack is not leaving the pack. And that's where oftentimes it's when the people come to get yourself what you said about a husband and a woman, that's actually just when I don't make a nice sandwich, I get slapped in the face, but he's a great guy, or things like that. And when you compare that to the dogs, I can see the kind of like a perception that you have on this topic. It just kind of again.
Yeah, and I know that the dog's not a human. I know that the dog is a dog, but there is cognitive function. Dogs do know when they're doing something wrong. Whether there's an emotional attachment to what they're doing wrong, whether there's a trauma to what they're doing wrong, whether there's a mistake in the social hierarchy. But I just find that a lot of the humans don't recognize when the child is the victim, not the dog. Or when you're the victim, your emotion, your brain is behaving as the victim, but you're not realizing that. You're just contributing it to that the dog is the victim. And I think a lot of people lose sight. It's almost like it's normal to have a bad dog now. It's almost like it's an accepted thing in society. And I think universally, I think there is no universally accepted program for the treatment or prevention of canine aggression, because the dog training profession just remains to be super divided on the subject,
Because I think, like, first, I must maybe this will be a show in which we maybe disagree a lot more than we're gonna find a common ground. I again must come to that dynamic of the child and the dog. Child is a victim, and the dog is a victim. Both are victim of parents. Both of them are living in an environment in which structure does not exist. And that is why the dog can choose to go after the child, because in dog's mind, they have ability to make a decision. Is the child behaving proper way? Mom comes in, asks the child, what did you do? She laid the foundation for the next like a conflict to happen. So it's not a child that's a victim of the dog. Both of them are victims of the parents, right?
It's not just the victim of the parents, though. It's also the victim of popular dog trainers on TV. Because those parents, those regular dog owners, I mean, let's face it, popular dog trainers on TV and YouTube often make super unrealistic claims that they can cure problems with reactive dogs in days.
I get that, but again, we need to come back to a common sense and informed decision. I can understand that the child and dog cannot consent to the environment in which they live, but the older people, like grown-up people, the people in their like early, like a mid-age, what can be their excuse not to, if something doesn't work, immediately should be shifted or changed for something else? I don't go to the different trainer of the same kind. Why would I think that circling around the same environment can bring me a different result? It's going to, as you said, like more treats we use without a changing focus from treat on us for us and our relationship to become a big high value of the interaction is when the dog has me and when I have dog. That's what we all and both thrive through the day. So we don't need treats. We don't need nothing. We might get to the point with the different ways, but that's the high end goal to have
which I think a lot of people have to understand that high end goal takes time.
Yeah, and of course that no one. So it's not a problem of the people that are now, the people are now victims of the train? I would say yes, because the marketing and the propaganda can be used either or, and everyone is using marketing and propaganda. Just the question becomes like how great you wanna use it. What's the name of the guy that wrote that propaganda thing? Edward Bernays was writing. He was writing he was a son or what, uncle or brother, nephew of the Sigmund Freud. He wrote a book, How the Science Impact the subject of the propaganda. And he said, I was contacted by the Nazi Party of Germany to make up their program and promote everything and do everything for them, when he said, like, my moral standard doesn't allow me that to do. But if they just follow the book up to what I wrote them, they're going to be able to turn that way of controlling the mind of the population. But today, today humans are on a different level of the evolutionary mind that was happening like in 1940s around the First World and Second World War. Like, we have much more choices to make. And as much as that becomes like bigger, more option to make, the tools of delivering those messages remain the same. It's the same propaganda machine that we are using when we are using, I don't know, ClickFunnels, making these ads, making that Facebook ads. All of that is propaganda, trying to sell our beliefs and what we think is, because I don't think so. Tony, I think we must agree, no matter how much we disagree with all of the other people on the planet that train dogs, that they have the best interest of family and of the dog to their heart, regardless how much they think it's, because at this point of their evolution of the thoughts and relationship with the dogs, they think it's the right way to do. That is why they are selling it so hard. That is why they are so successful, because the people want quick tips and want.
I think it's interesting. I think what's going on too, also, and just it's in relation to what you're saying, is that oftentimes when I'm working with clients, sometimes clients, like for example, I have my program, I have my knowledge, and I have I have the philosophy and the hypothesis, and I have all of my own experience to help them to see the light at the end of the tunnel with their dogs. But oftentimes the clients themselves, whenever their dog is in crisis, even with children, whenever a mother sees her child in crisis, their instinct is to control that situation as quickly as possible, right? Or get their child to stop doing something as quickly as possible. Or they get the emotional entanglement involved in the situation, which is a word you often use. But on top of that emotional entanglement where they're sucked in, it also happens to trainers. So when you're helping a client, and I find this with the profession, with all trainers, is when your client is having a crisis situation, or your client doesn't agree with what you want to do, or your client says, is there a way we can not use a crate? Or your client says, can we not use this? Whenever the client sometimes goes into the situation, it sucks the dog trainer in to want to get into the state of mind that the customer is always right, where they want to cater to the client. They want to make sure that the client is happy. And it almost forces the trainer to go against their own common sense, because the client is kind of pulling them into that drama. So then what ends up happening a lot of the times is these unrealistic claims prevent the general public from understanding the commitment required to solve problems related to unwanted dog aggression, because people are trained to trust their dogs too soon, which can lead to disaster. Because what happens is they want to make the client happy, so they expedite the training. Then they let that person go out there with a dog with a false sense of security that they have a good dog, when it's really a controlled and managed dog. And then it ends up hurting some child. So there's got to be some point where the dog training industry has to come to the self-awareness themselves that they're turning into this marketing machine and catering to the client's desire to want things done quickly, instead of saying, hey, a marriage in itself can't be saved quickly. I can't save your marriage in 3 sessions or 4 sessions. This is going to take time to get to the root cause of this confused relationship to begin with.
Again, we are coming back to a responsibility that every single leader of the group has. That's a responsibility. It's not an excuse.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know. Well, he told me that. Well, I was trusting my trainer. Well, he told me I should do this. Well, he told me I should do that. And that is where we come to the point again that the best trainer for your dog is yourself. And what we all need to do is find a way. And what I somehow stop even using word training. I say I use somehow the communication. Like, so how do you communicate with your dog in order to create such an environment in which response of the dog to that environment that you create with your behavior is something that we could call, desirable or acceptable behavior of my dog is an outcome of the dog reacting on how do I behave, and literally comes to that respect of the boundaries. And I must say that when I would say like this might be something we would disagree on in this show, I wanted to come back on the beginning of this episode when you play that clip that I said you should make a conscious decision about adopting dogs from the reputable breeders that care about character of the dog as well.
Yeah, and the temperament and the conformation and
Yes, the temperament. I would agree that the dog has different temperaments, but that has nothing to do with the behavior. Temperament and the behavior are 2 completely different things. And the dog with the good temperament, like a calm temperament, can become a killing machine if comes into the environment in which need to make choices. And one of the choices will be, I need to protect these crazy people in my pack because they don't know what are they doing. And you know why the dog knows the people doesn't know what they are doing? Because we are going to the jobs we hate. We live with the family, we live with the spouses and husbands and in the relationship with the people we don't even love going to bed with, but we still go because of the children, because of the money, because of 100 different reasons why I choose to remain in this relationship. You think that we can hide that from the dog? Dogs are not dumb. They feel all of that energy compressed within us, and they doubt. They said, like, which kind of the leader you are if I need to surrender my life to you, and here you are struggling every single day when you need to go to job. Proves that we are not leader of our own life. And if I'm not leader of my own life, which tools I have to make myself leader to someone else? And then when the dog steps, it looks around the family and says, like, there is no one to care for this family. The husband is having an affair. The wife is hating on him. She goes to the job she doesn't love. This little kid tries left and right to find his own place within this roof. This house is without a leader. I need to step in. When the dogs step in the place of the leader, it can be Chihuahua, it can be Bull Mastiff, it can be any little bastard dog made of these fancy breeds by crossing with the different poodles, doodles, or whatever. It can be any dog that will turn its behavior into aggression, not by genetics, by choice, and then becomes like, if the dogs have that aggression, the only way to control and to tell to the world, stop approaching, stop coming to, this is the way I'm going to protect my little family. And now the question becomes like, what the dog gonna perceive as a danger. Whatever the dog is going to perceive as a danger to a group, they're going to attack because they just don't have other tools to do. And there, if you have a Chihuahua that gets into that role, we might get just, bit a little bit for the finger. If there is a Pit Bull getting in that role or a Great Dane getting in that role, based on exactly the same rules, now we have a killing machine. No matter which breed, no matter which genetics, it's only what counts to the dog is environment.
So I think also what I'm trying to focus on as well, as far as kind of the subject of this podcast, is that many humans don't understand that owning an aggressive dog creates such an unhealthy relationship, even amongst your family members, to the point that the dog's not just the victim, it's the whole family that's victimized as well. The child was victimized. The fact that, I mean, it's just like, with the analogy of the husband being great, except for sometimes he hits his wife. There comes that point where, yeah, the woman needs to be the role model for her children. The mother needs to be hey, I'm a woman, hear me roar. I'm not going to have a relationship or accept that kind of a relationship, and I have to put my foot down. And a lot of the times too, where humans get victimized during relationships they have with their dogs that are unbalanced with aggression, is a lot of the times society does a lot of victim blaming towards the humans. So I think it's wrong, I think it's wrong that people who own violent dogs, or the thought that people think that people that own violent dogs haven't looked for help. Like a lot of times when I go on the internet or on Facebook, I hear so much hatred and victim blaming when people say, oh, well, you know what? For example, I encounter this a lot with pit bull owners, because I used to be, I still am an advocate for pit bull ownership, and I owned pit bulls most of my life, a lot of the bully breeds. But a lot of times when people have pit bulls and they would call me, the first thing people think of is, well, you know what? It's the owner. It's the owner. They're a bad owner, or they're not doing the right thing, or it's how they're raising them. And that comes, it's like a lot of people think that people that have bad dogs aren't trying to get any help, or they're not responsible owners. So there was a study by the University of Leicester found that people who own aggressive dogs, can you not hear me? I can't hear you at all.
I'm sorry, I'm trying here to say, wait, I have something to say before you move on again from very, very important part that I just don't want to get. We are coming back to that point like for the third time, and I'm just not getting a clear message there. What I just want to add to that little point, when you say, and that's a part where we are talking about alpha pair in the family. When you said he's a great husband, but if I don't put the sandwich correct, I'm gonna be slapped. And always that woman with victimhood relationships, you would have again like a lot of time we would ask like, oh, why did she doesn't go from that relationship? She should just move away. It's kind of like her, and then we become blaming a victim to keep maintaining that relationship for her own somehow, I don't know how that the people perceive that as she, as a victim, has something to gain from that relationship. And yet it's so hard when the woman finally moves away from that relationship, or whoever moves away from the relationship, said, I was with abusive person. I didn't know for such a long time. I didn't see it with the right eye. I didn't have enough knowledge, enough strength, enough support to make that decision. And finally, when I was moving out from whichever reason, I was able to see around and see how long that took time. But we are again putting a possibility of that woman to find the resources and sources and strength and finally move away. The dogs cannot make that decision. No matter how much they are put in an environment in which humans, everything is on humans. I must say, everything is on humans. We can say that this dog is, what does it mean being aggressive dog? In my vocabulary, in my perception, aggressive dog means dog that made the decision to protect the family. And by protecting the family with the role that he's assigned to, by family not being able to establish the leadership role, as we said, how the if you have a president and suddenly you have a president that sees every single conflict that he has need to be taken into a war. And now you have a president of the country that's taking entire country into every single war wherever it's possible. And then that leader is replaced, and now you have a man that or a woman, whoever. Now you have a president that actually is taking that entire community and entire country into a peaceful relationship with the people around. If the dog is in a leadership position, and if the dog have a role model of the family in which every conflict is resolved by abuse, there you have an aggressive dog as a result of mauling its character through the environment. We know it as a latent learning. Mm-hmm. So now when I'm hearing you talk, is that the dogs are guilty because they are aggressive, and now we need to do something, or not guilty, they are responsible and the people are victim. I wouldn't see that coming, because every dog is an outcome of 3% or maybe 5% of the genetic inheritance and everything else of the environment. Because
so you're going into the deep hole you're going down into is rehabilitation of a dog and what's required to get him out of that state of mind. The podcast is about how owning an aggressive dog affects human psychology.
But the point of the entire human psychology is aggressive human psychology creates a place for the aggressive dog.
No, if somebody adopts a dog that's aggressive, like say, for example, and they're choosing to try to rescue that dog when they're probably not in the best position to rehabilitate this dog, and they're emotionally entangled because they feel that they have to fix this dog when maybe they shouldn't be the ones to fix this dog, puts their family as well as their own psychology under stress. So that's kind of what we're focusing on this podcast. I know what we need to do to fix that dog. I know what we need to do to improve that dog's life, but not every dog is going to be good for every family, and not every family is capable of doing that. So they have to learn to recognize when they're not the best family for that dog.
Then tell me how that is a responsibility of the dog. How that can be a responsibility of the dog if the family that is not capable of taking care of that dog.
I never said it was the responsibility of the other dog. I never said it was the dog's responsibility.
No, I get, but you said that the humans are victim of the bad dogs.
I'm saying that the human, before you interrupted me, there's been studies. Let me see if I can find it for you. Hold on.
Okay, while you're looking for that, because I think like I'm completely open here to discuss and kind of like debate.
So I'm talking about the human psychology of somebody that's in over their head, right? That's basically kind of what the subject of the podcast is the victimization, the victim mindset of the human. The human body does not understand the difference between acts of violence committed by a human or a dog. So your dog's violent behavior will have the same impact on your mind as aggression committed by a human spouse or a stranger. So, so there was a study by the University of Leicester found that people who own aggressive dogs are careful, reliable, thoughtful about their actions, but it contradicts the perception that owners of aggressive dogs are always irresponsible. So the amount of misinformation on the internet about treating dog aggression make finding a solution exceedingly difficult for responsible dog owners. Popular dog trainers are often subject to reactive dogs to extreme abuse, and the brutal treatment is often used in the pro dog training industry. And as I mentioned before, it says here, the human body does not understand the difference between acts of violence committed by a human or a dog. So your dog's violent behavior will have the same impact on your mind as aggression committed by a human spouse or a stranger. So the emotional entanglement that somebody has when they have an aggressive dog is the same mindset that they would have if they were in an abusive relationship. They don't realize the emotional toll it takes on a family to own an aggressive dog like that, when maybe they shouldn't be owning an aggressive dog like that.
At that point, like, they shouldn't own any dog. Because because I think on the that's kind of like, are we again taking here and talking about the dogs as emotional support dogs?
I'm talking about, so that's kind of like saying, if somebody is in an abusive relationship with their boyfriend and they can't repair that relationship, or they're in a disgruntled relationship with their spouse and they just can't see through it, and that they have to separate, or they just have to break up, that person shouldn't be seeking love anywhere else because they can't do it to begin with.
No, I get it.
So I don't believe that because somebody can't resolve an issue with a dog, that it means that they shouldn't own a dog at all. A lot of times people acquire dogs from rescue shelters that they shouldn't have acquired to begin with, they were just way in over their head. Sometimes if you're dating somebody, you don't know enough about that person to realize, oh my gosh, this person is an abuser, or they're a narcissist, or they don't like children and they beat my kids. Sometimes you get caught into these situations, but a lot of the times these situations, do they require your investment to try to repair these situations, even though you're in over your head and you're not in the best position to have that kind of a relationship? Because a lot of the times, a lot of those dogs do need to be euthanized.
Everything that's again, I'm like,
but it doesn't mean that person shouldn't
own
a dog
killed,
to begin with.
Mercifully killed.
Yeah,
that's not fair again, because just I never saw aggressive dog that cannot be put in a place in which they're gonna behave like a babies. Because again,
so you've never ever in your career once worked with an aggressive dog that you realize that this is just not going to be resolved. This dog has way too much trauma.
No, I don't know. You expect me to say that I was a veterinarian technician, and as my 10 years of clinical practice, I was putting dogs down left and right. Whoever bought the dog in a vet and has said, I don't have money to pay his treatment, what is the cheapest way? Put him down.
So what about when a dog has a genetic disposition from poor breeding? That's not going to be resolved through behavior modification.
Now we said, like, how much possibility is that a child that comes from the parents that are, for example, abusive parents, gonna be genetically abusive as well?
What is the commonality, or how often?
No. I said, like, because what we said, this is genetical predisposition. It's only a predisposition. If my father has a bad behavior, and if my mother had a bad behavior, and
I'm talking about,
let's say
you
they were aggressive.
That you've never worked with a dog that had a genetic predisposition to be aggressive.
Again, in my mind, that doesn't exist. Because it's like you are telling me that if my parents are bad, I'm genetically predisposed. I genetically need to be observed, like, oh, he's gonna be bad one day. He had a genetic predisposition to do that. It's only a predisposition, and it's only gonna raise and it's only gonna bloom if put in an environment in which that predisposition can be nourished. It would be
so like alcoholism wouldn't be a genetic predisposition. Then
it's a family system entanglement. But you can understand that if do you remember when we were talking about the Watson experiment? Do you remember little Albert? When he said, give me 20 healthy babies, and I will make.
I'm talking about not healthy babies. Give me 20 unhealthy babies. How was he going to continue that experiment?
What does it mean, unhealthy babies? Aggression wouldn't be something that it's going to be considered. It's a type of the behavior. It's not a problem with the physical ability.
So then would it matter if you bred dogs and didn't care about their temperament?
Of course. Because it doesn't matter. How would you know what are we? For example, we have all of these feral dogs, stray dogs that we are adopting left and right, and we are bringing them from the course of Mexico and back from China and saving them from these farms and ever. How do you know which kind of genetic those dogs has? Probably.
Well, if we're talking about breeding, right? We're talking about breeding.
But let's say now. But let's say now we have some stray dogs. The only way that those dogs will be part of the, to those bitches and males breed, they need to survive in a stray environment. They were fighting, and according to some, that fight that happens in between, I don't know. Did you saw any time how the stray dogs are actually? There is a bitch in a heat in a season now. She's about to, be able to have puppies and actually be able to be bred. And she's in a high heat, and now she's in her high days, and now she needs to get a boy. And you have like 5 to 10 boys fighting for her. She's gonna pick up the winner of those fights. So now I would say that the father of those puppies were aggressive because he was fighting all the other dogs there. And now that bitch was giving a birth to puppies. No one knew what is the genetic predisposition of those puppies. Someone came by that place where she had the puppies because maybe she was just
the female of that pack doesn't choose which dog she's going to breed with. It's just the dog that's able to breed with her in resources guards her so the others can't.
Which one?
And oftentimes stray dogs do have multiple litters from different males.
Only if they are able to, what did you just said is, it's got to flip my mind, protect, how you say that? You said how she would choose whom to breed with, or who will breed the bitch?
You said that she's going to choose the one that was the one that won the fight.
Yeah,
that's not her choice.
What did you said?
I said that she's not choosing which one to breed with. It's the only one that's left to breed with because it won't let the others breed with her.
There you go.
So she's going to present herself to anyone.
That's exactly.
She's going to present herself to any dog.
He will protect the dog that he will be able to protect her from the others. Will be one to protect her and breed her because otherwise.
Yeah, but he's not protecting her. He's just resource guarding her. She doesn't want protection. She wants to breed with all of them.
Okay, he's resource guarding. That I couldn't remember what did you said, and that was exactly what I was looking for. So he's resource guarding. How is he doing that? By smiling at the other dogs? By telling them, "Oh no, don't come. This girl is mine." How is he doing?
He's going through a hormonal change because of the female being in heat.
How the dogs?
Otherwise, that's genetic. He wouldn't. It's genetic for him to want to breed if she's in heat. All of them want to breed with her because she's in heat. So that's. Yeah, go ahead.
No, the question is like how the dogs are resource guarding. By how? Why? By which behavior?
They're showing aggression and
aggression.
Territorial aggression. Yeah.
Every single time when the dogs are guarding something, resource guarding is aggression.
Yes.
So they can guard resource. The resource guarding can. So actually now we are not talking anymore about aggressive dogs. We are talking about the resource guarding dogs.
I wasn't talking about aggressive dogs in general. I'm focusing on the human aspect. You're talking about dogs. I'm talking about humans.
No.
And
now I'm talking about
psychological damage that comes from owning an aggressive dog they can't handle.
Again, we are coming back to a leadership.
No.
It is
Some
a leadership.
People are incapable of that leadership. Let me give you an example.
Those people shouldn't have dogs. That's irresponsible.
So what you're saying, okay, let me ask you a question. I've always wanted a dog. Let's say, for example, I've always wanted a dog. I've always wanted a golden retriever. Okay. My family said I should go get one from a breeder, but I'm deciding, I don't want to get one from a breeder. I want to get one from a rescue. Okay. So I contact the rescue and they say, we have a wonderful golden retriever from you. The family doesn't want him anymore. I have no idea why the family doesn't want the dog. All I know is I've always wanted a golden retriever, and I want to get one from a rescue. So I get this golden retriever from a rescue, and my mind is already set on I'm rescuing this golden retriever. I'm saving his life. And then later on, I find out that this golden retriever has bitten my parents and also has attacked me. Okay. So now, as I'm in this dilemma, right, and I need help, and I'm not getting the help or the resources, or I'm trying to learn, but I'm having difficulty. And then later on, I realize I don't want to euthanize this dog. I don't want to give him back to the shelter because I want to see what I can do to help this dog. And now I've owned this dog for 2 years and nothing has changed. And then I decide, okay, I'm not going to be able to help this dog. Your advice to that person is, after that incident, they should never own a dog to begin with.
They should first, if they still have a dog, right?
No, it's a hypothetical. It's
no,
hypothetical.
I'm asking, did he put the dog down, or he still have a golden retriever?
No, let's say he had to put the dog down.
Okay, why would you have another dog?
Because he got a dog that had previous trauma from another situation that he had no part in and no understanding of. And why shouldn't he get a dog that has a better temperament from a breeder?
That's the problem there. That's why we have all of these problems. I don't want to say that shouldn't be something that we don't need to kind of like talk until we do not find a common ground. But that's exactly where I see the whole problem is, because we can blame the dog and we can kill the dog because we are incapable of doing the job. That's not an excuse. That's not an excuse. Just because it's I
blame the breeder, the original owner, and the rescue organization for not preparing this person properly. If this person had contacted you and me earlier, I would have opted that they go with the breeder and go with a puppy and let me show you how to raise this dog correctly. And yes, they do deserve to have a dog and they deserve to know how to raise a dog. But just because they got brainwashed into rescuing a dog that they shouldn't have rescued to begin with because they don't have the capability of even rehabilitating a dog, shouldn't take the right away that they shouldn't have an option to do it the correct way the next time around.
No, I get that. But if they would find that I completely agree with kind of like, oh, I didn't know now. I didn't know that I can work with that dog. I didn't know that I can put that dog in an environment in which I will understand that dog's behavior and because every single dog has their own, as you said, temperament. But the temperament has nothing to do with the behavior. Temperament and the behavior are completely two different things, because animal can learn to self-control. And the only one who can learn to self-control the animal would be an owner of the animal. In order so the animal doesn't choose to guard the, how do you call that? Guard the resource by aggressive behavior. Because
so when should a person know?
Just a second.
Okay.
Dog always attack because they guarded something. They always protected something because they were thinking there is no other one to protect, and they are the one to step in the role of the protection. And that's the only reason that leader do. When the group is missing the leader, that's the place and that's the group in which dog gonna jump in that place, no matter how hard it is. We all say, oh, this president is bad and that president is that. And all of us is all what we do is just vote. None of us want to be president because responsibility is on high stake. None of in the settings of the nature, being leader is a most unwanted place in which any animal want to find themselves in. And that's exactly what the people should do, is create an environment in which the leader is certain. No matter how resource-guarded animal around that leader is, it's going to always back off, look at the leader and say, what do I do next? Am I fighting or I'm backing up? Because
so how long do you think that would take? How long do you think that would take for somebody to establish that with a dog?
I saw that, so what in my experience going through the Doggy Parent Academy, no matter how hard the dog is, the clear picture of the human become a leader of the pack, I saw like everywhere in between 2 months to a year.
And what if that family has small children?
Sorry?
What if that family had small children?
First of all, small children family, because of the
So there's a real aggressive dog. It's very dangerous to the children. Should they spend time rehabilitating this dog while they have children in the home?
Trust me, if they are not capable of rehabilitating that dog and create environment in which that dog gonna understand that those parents are the leader of this little group or the pack, and the children are next to them, and the place for these dogs on the end of the pack, those parents will not be able to raise the children. They're going to make them become completely like, that's where I'm talking with this responsibility. A responsibility of the humans towards animals that they live in an environment with cannot be excused for killing them.
Okay. So they should continue to keep this dog while their children are in danger of getting mauled?
You need a context to this picture.
Okay. I'm asking you that question. What should a family do if they just adopted a dog, they have children, and the dog is aggressive towards children? Do they keep the dog and rehabilitate it no matter how long that takes while there are children in the home, or should they try to find other alternatives?
I would work with the dog, because now you are coming to a responsible leadership.
So what happens if one of those children gets killed?
But again, we are talking about responsibility of the humans to think about before they make a decision. But once the decision is made, there is no way that a responsible person would back up, no matter how hard it is. Because what you are doing now...
I'm sorry, but so who's the loyalty towards your children and your family, or the dog that you just adopted that wants to hurt your children?
Why did you adopt the dog in the first place?
Because my children wanted a dog.
There you go. That's the problem of this society. That's the problem, because we think, and the entire community of humanizing the dog is something that...
Why is buying a family? I mean, I'm glad that my parents bought me a dog, and that's what got me into understanding dog behavior and learning about myself and all kinds of stuff. So I don't understand, why is it bad to buy children a dog if they want a dog?
Because again, it's nothing bad. On top of everything, children that are growing up with the dog responsibly are the children that are growing up into much stronger and capable humans.
Okay, so you thought you were doing the right thing. You thought you did your research, and you thought that the media is telling you don't buy from a breeder. Breeders are the cause of the problem. Adopt, don't shop. So I thought, I'm going to go ahead and adopt a dog for my children, and then now realize that the dog is child aggressive and wants to hurt the children. So in that instance,
again, we are talking about I love dogs, and I hold humans responsible for this environment in which dog lives now by our side.
Okay, but the children are not responsible, and the parents didn't know that they were getting an aggressive dog. So what do they do if their children are in danger and they have an aggressive dog in their home that attacks children?
Now you're talking very hypothetical question, but I would start with management of the place management.
Okay, I would tell the parents they need to find other alternatives for that dog, or rehome it, or find someone else, or return it to the shelter, and tell them. I would not allow those parents to keep that dog in that situation. It's going to cause so much emotional turmoil for the children. The children are going to develop a fear for dogs that could cause marital problems. There's a lot of things psychologically that's going to happen to that family because you're encouraging for that dog to stay in that home. I think they should find an alternative home. I don't think they should have to be forced to keep that dog there and rehabilitate it.
I think first, I think we are bouncing back on the edge of on the completely this is the complete terrible situation in which you bring the dog from the shelter and the dog turns to be child aggressive, even though that shelter didn't tell you that the dog has a history on beating the children. Now I think we are talking about a high on the spectrum. We are talking extremes.
What I'm focusing on is the podcast. I'm just focusing on what the subject of the podcast is today, which is how having a behavioral issue that you can't handle can cause you to be in a victim state of mind. It affects your body and your family very similarly to being in an abusive relationship that you shouldn't have as a part of your family unit if you can't handle it.
And then how the heck I'm not staying on discussing the topic?
Because you're talking about the dog staying, and basically it's like telling some wife, hey, your husband hit you. You know what? It's probably because you're not standing up for yourself. You're not creating boundaries for yourself. You need to go through marriage and family therapy. And during this time, she gets hit periodically as they're going through this. So you don't think there's a point in time where the spouse should say, you know what, I've had enough. This is not going to be a healthy relationship for me and the children.
But
I'm going to end up having a divorce.
In my mind, you're confusing two things because you are comparing uncomparable. The woman can go out the moment she have enough resources, both support from the counselor, from the friends, from the family. She's finally able to make her move, and she's gonna go herself. The dog.
I feel that the owners should recognize that as well, as they're the new owners, that they should understand their limitations and that they should not keep that dog.
And now you're saying that now, because you said that you are comparing the abused woman in the relationship in which on the end, no matter how long it should take her, she is the one to move out. And here in this abusive relationship, you have a dog that's abusive and the children that are victim, and now somehow the family needs to throw out the dog from the family so they can keep living the healthy relationship. That's the real comparison of what you are talking. And just I can tell that maybe I don't understand what you are saying, but what I see is actually the same thing that you are telling there, that if the woman has a problem with the husband, she should find a way to kick out the husband from the home because she's in an abusive relationship.
Either way, he needs to leave or she needs to leave, but she's gonna have to change that environment for the sake of her psychology, her children.
And why do you?
But she shouldn't be forced to have to save her marriage if society is telling her that she's a horrible wife because she didn't stick it out with her husband that beats her up and beats the kids up.
Yeah, but now we are coming down to a point of the dog cannot have a choice of leaving the family that they don't feel nice at.
Right, but the family does have a choice, and a lot of times they adopt a dog that they shouldn't have adopted to begin with. So I don't find situations like that safe for the family or safe for the kids, especially when they're not as skilled or psychologically capable of owning a dog like that.
But then we are back to the point of owning a dog like that. Owning a dog means, again, and I think like the hypothetical.
Not owning a dog in general, just owning a dog like that.
Any environment, and if I must say that I saw over and over and over and over it, for example, that family might end up taking back their golden retriever back in shelter and going out and buy some Maltese from the respectful breeder, bring that dog in a home,
and bring them to you and show them how to raise a dog so it doesn't become that.
But the problem was they're going to raise the dog to become the same. Just this guy, when they bite, it wouldn't be so much hurt as the golden retriever.
But why would they raise that dog? Why would they raise the dog the same way when it wasn't their causing of that dog to be aggressive to begin with? If they adopted a dog, they don't know how that dog was raised.
Again, there is always a place to make the dog understand there is nothing to guard. The moment the dog understands there is nothing to guard, they stop their aggressive behavior. Because
and how long will that take? I'm not saying that that's not the case, but how long will that take? And if it's going to be length of time, which I feel that kind of training takes time, should that family be the one to do it, putting their kids in danger?
Again, we are very much in the hypothetical world in which you say that there is a family that went to with the young kids.
I'm just going to focus on the point of the podcast is when the person should recognize when a situation is causing emotional harm to them, their family, and the psychology of their family. And there's already been studies by universities that have already shown that the human mind, especially in an abuse case, does not understand the difference or process it any differently whether the abuse would be coming from a spouse, an assault, or a dog. The cortisol levels, they rise the same way, whether you're being attacked by a dog or whether you're being beaten by a bat. It still affects the mind and the body. It will affect your children. It'll affect your husband. It'll affect your family. So there comes this point is that something that you should be doing if you're not capable of rehabilitating that dog with the amount of stress you're going to be doing to your family and yourself?
Because it's just kind of like you are telling me they should give up the dog. That is just, and it's again like pretty much, again, we are going about the context is missing what you are trying to talk here. Because now, is that family that has aggressive dog, did they raise that dog aggressively and they live with that dog, for example, 3 years or 5 years, and they got it from the puppyhood and they raised the dog into aggression, or actually the resource guarding dog, or they adopted dog and they are living with that dog for a couple of months or a couple of years and they cannot still rehabilitate that dog. We are back to a point of
so let's put it in your context. So what context do you want to put it in?
Whichever context you put in me, I would always protect the dog because the humans are more capable of developing their leadership skills. And the dog can be the dog can be initiator of those changes, because any victim that you are talking about that goes through these emotional struggles and everything, occasionally, sooner or later, need to undergo the changes that will put her away from being a victim and being surrounded with abusive environment always. And then once you start building those things,
so do you ever run into a situation where you realize that the family is in danger? Whatever, they raised the dog improperly. Okay, the dog's a danger now, to itself, to the children, to the family. Have you at any point ever told a client, I don't think this is a very safe situation for you?
Because they're already living with that dog.
Yes, and so I have tons of footage of kids that have missing ears and torn up backs. At some point, when those kids go to the emergency and they have torn lips, which I have tons of footage of, there's not any point where you say, you know what, this isn't safe for you and your family. This is not a dog that needs to stay here.
Now, again,
never got to that point?
Again, in my history of 30 years, 35 life working with dogs, I never had such an experience.
Really?
Dogs, no.
Okay. So I've because my 30 years, I specialized in behavioral issues. So for 30 years, I've dealt with tons of people that I actually have pictures I could show you of people that want to hire me and have shown me faces mauled and lips missing from their dogs, and they want to save their dog. They want to go through this program to help their dog.
I never got them on such a stage, but what I did a lot is actually helping dog in shelters not get euthanized because they did that to the family, and undergo these puppy programs that in which they do understand they don't need to guard anything.
Okay, and did you help them or did you help the owner train that dog?
I helped them.
Okay, so
the entire
what if somebody doesn't have the same skill set as you?
What is the skill set? The skill set is language. They don't
have the knowledge. There's thousands of people that don't have the same knowledge that you and I have. Whether it sounds like common sense to you or not, there's a lot of people that don't understand how to raise dogs properly.
Me and you will not be able. A sad ako počnem da pričam na srpskom jeziku, ti ništa nećeš razumeti šta sam ja rekao. I onda ceo problem našeg razumevanja može da bude da ja pričam stvari koje ti ne razumeš.
Okay, so I don't understand that language.
There you go. That's what I was telling you. That's the only thing the humans need to learn is the language of the canines. Because I was talking on my Serbian language. And
so how long would it take me to be fluent in Serbian?
The question becomes like, if you want to go and have a podcast with a Serbian guy on Serbian language, I don't know your capabilities, but probably would take you a couple of years. But you wouldn't go on a podcast on Serbian language without learning Serbian language. That's responsible. That's responsible person. That is responsible person that sticks to whatever it takes to make right for everyone involved, including the animal. If I want to live with the animal, my responsibility number one is to learn the language of that creature. Just then I can have an animal.
And is that done always in that order? Because I've met tons of people that have fallen in love that speak very little of the other person's language. And then as they're developing the relationship, they start to learn the language of the family and the spouses to be a unified unit. So there's a lot of people that don't know each other's languages that still fall in love, but then take that.
Again, I'm talking here about the leadership.
Yes, I understand that, but leadership is just about relationship, really. It's about having a proper relationship.
And oftentimes,
so what I'm talking about is I'm talking about an aggressive dog, right? I'm not talking about a dog that doesn't have any aggression, that doesn't have.
Okay, we need to make at least somewhere consensus. And can we at least agree on that the dog live in this type of the environment because of the humans? Okay.
So the consensus is that the person got the dog already or they're the ones that raised the dog?
No. The world, the mankind and the canine world combined together created this mess because of the canines or because of the humans?
Okay. Because the humans, because of captivity.
It's not kind of like it's not captivity. Now we have dogs that live with us.
It is captivity because we're keeping them captive in a captive situation and we're pushing our lifestyle on that dog.
Okay.
Whether that dog's capable of handling it or not, it's happening in a captive situation.
Who is more conscious in that relationship?
Both.
Who is more conscious?
Both.
In which world do we live, in a canine-made world or we both live in a man-made world?
Captivity is going to be our cultural world, but the world is the world. Yeah.
So the captivity makes man-made world. They live in apartments, they live in houses, they live in fences. All of that is made by people.
Okay.
Right? So the dogs live in the man-made world.
Sure.
In order to understand the life in the man-made world, the people need to make a step closer to dogs. And I'm not advocating here. I'm not just kind of like every single time when I talk to my students and when I usually do podcasts and I talk to you, I'm not talking from the position of weakness of one that has more responsibility, because we invite dog in our environment, doesn't come other way around.
Right.
If the family chooses the dog from the shelter, it's responsibility of the family, no matter how hard it sounds. It's responsibility of that father, it's responsibility of that mother if something happened to a child. Because they chose to bring the dog that doesn't know how to behave in the environment in which they try to put that dog out from pure love. They try to make that dog member of the family because of the impact of the mainstream that's only baby talk and selling, and it's like a baby, it's like a child, it's another family, it's my baby, and then it becomes a sibling to another baby or replacement for the baby, and that's the beginning of the mess.
Okay, so that dog came with trauma.
No, the dog, again, my perspective of the dogs is that the dogs are forever puppies of the wolf. That is how I talk to dogs. That is how I communicate with them. That is how I feed them. That is how I bathe them. That is my perception that the dog evolution had its very significant point in the evolutionary, how the etiology of the dogs happen. It is a wolf, but a very specific dynamic of the wolf development phase called puppyhood. No matter is it Chihuahua, is it a Doberman, is it a stray dog, is it a mixed breed, is it a doodle or a moodle? no matter does it have a 5 months or have 15 years, is a puppy of the wolf. And like puppy of the wolf, they always need parents. They are not wolves. They are not grown-up wolves that are able to hold and keep the pack moving forward. They need parents. There is significant science behind that called neoteny. Neoteny means that there is a way of the evolution in which the certain species chooses to protect and preserve baby-like traits in order to survive easier in the environment that they are put in. The puppy-like dogs and the puppy-like wolves were the perfect point of the wolf evolution, or actually of the wolf growth and development, to be stopped. The puppy can come close to humans because if it will not be scared of them. The wolf puppy can live next to the humans, but not if they grow up. If they grow up and they become wolves, they become too scared, they become protective, they become too much centric to try to establish the leadership, and they become something that we just named resource guarding the resources. And that animal, that part of the development of the wolf, cannot look in the eyes of the humans, but the wolf puppy can. And if the neoteny was taking place in the evolution of the dogs, then everything makes sense.
What do you mean the wolf puppy can? What can the wolf puppy can do?
The wolf puppy is sweet, and they would explore, and they want to go out and to see.
Wolf puppies show a lot of aggression.
Again, the wolf puppyhood is one place in which the dogs could start.
And wolf puppies are really heightened with resource guarding. Just so you know, when you work with wolves, you work with the puppies, they are majorly aggressive when it comes to resource guarding their food.
I know. And that's why I'm telling that the puppyhood of the dog, because just see this theory of neoteny. That if the dogs,
I know what neoteny is. Yeah.
If you would take I don't know if I'm pronouncing it. I think it's pronounced neoteny. How you say it?
Neoteny.
Neoteny. Okay, yeah. So if they are puppies forever, and the puppies have very, very, very significant, and again, they're playing what you said, resource guarding, only until parents let them do so. And they would play resource guarding among themselves, but not with the parents.
Oh, it's not playing though. They're definitely not playing.
But they are not playing with the parents in that sense.
Yes, they do. They do it as well. So because I do a lot of wolf study. I work with wolves. So whenever you have wolf puppies, generally the parents basically the wolf puppies eat before the pack does, right? And they're super resource guarding. If the adult wolf goes near that puppy, it's going to act very dramatic. They generally always do. But as they get older, generally after about maybe a year, then, which they're still technically puppies in their mind at a year, then the older wolves tend to be more, they don't have those puppy privileges anymore. Then they start learning to provide personal space.
When I'm talking puppies, I mean like den puppies.
So stick with puppies, not wolves, because wolves is
no. It's very, it's very important to understand that the species of the wolf and the canine is the same.
Yes, but they also have
there is no but.
Different characteristics. They're the same species, but they still have different characteristics.
If you breed them together, you will get offspring that can produce. Right?
Yes, but also those wolf dogs, they have different characteristics. It's like a bulldog. A bulldog compared to an Australian Shepherd, they're both the same species, but their characteristics are completely different.
I get that, but if you breed the donkey to a horse, you are getting
that's a hybrid. That's different.
Yeah, of course it's different, but the mule cannot reproduce.
Yeah, because that's a hybrid. That's not the same species.
Now we established that
a wolf dog is not a hybrid.
Of course,
even though people call them hybrids, they're not.
It's the same species animal. So if the wolf is a dog and the dog is a wolf, we need to understand how that happened. And when I'm talking about the puppies of the wolf, what I in my mind have, and then when you say that puppies eat after even if before adults, what I'm talking about is a puppyhood, then puppyhood. I mean like couple of weeks puppyhood, when the puppies are not eating before their parents because the parents are going to hunt and the puppies are staying in den. The parents are...
The puppies at 2, are we still talking about dogs or wolves?
Wolves.
Because they're not eating solids until later, so they're still nursing.
Those puppies that are actually a couple of weeks old, the parents would go hunting and they would put down the prey, like maybe 10 miles away from the den. They would eat, they would come home, they would vomit, and that will be eaten by the puppies. So the
not
parents,
at 2 weeks.
Sorry?
Not at 2 weeks. So I think just the age is different.
Okay, tell me, is it 3 weeks or 4 weeks? When is it?
Oh, it's older. It's probably like about maybe 6 weeks. And
There
they'll
you go.
start eating solids. Yeah.
That will be the 6 weeks when they're coming out from the den, when they are socializing with the other part of the people, with the other part of the pack. They are much more intriguing of the outer world. It would be a 6 week, but now imagine if you would agree, if the science would come and agree that neoteny took place in the dog evolution, and the dogs in their mind and the way they structure the perception of the world, that they need to have a parents. They cannot survive on their own. They are in their mind, in their cognitive abilities, 6-week-old puppy of the wolf.
But a lot of stray dogs can survive on their own.
Again, they need a group. They need a leader. They always organizing themselves in the group, and that's what make them need in order to. So we are, and again, why I'm coming this and I cannot penetrate to where I want to go, is because you are cutting me back always. Is it 5 weeks or 3 weeks or 6 weeks? I agree, it's important, but everything I do from the dogs, and when I say that it's very easy to work with a 16-year-old aggressive dog if you see it as a puppy, and you bring it from the shelter and tell him this is the environment in which you're going to live from today on. And this, I am your leader. You don't need to resource guard anything else anymore. I am your to-go guide that you go once you have a trouble. I'm going to take care about everything. I'm going to provide the food. I'm going to provide the shelter. I'm going to provide the protection. I'm going to resource guard. And if I need help, I'm going to call you. You know what happened to that dog? They finally lay down. And after 16 years, you hear, finally someone.
Well, I don't disagree with that's how you would do it. I just disagree that if there's children involved and that dog is attacking children, I don't think it's a good idea to have that dog in that household.
Again, it's a question and responsibility of the parents. I don't think so. That should be a trainer's responsibility, recommendation. But if anyone would come, I would always try to protect the entire picture, including dog, with having a dog benefit. If I have a dog's interest at my heart, I need to teach those people how to interact. I would maybe tell them, this dog need to be separated from the children. This dog need to live completely in the different space and environment. This dog maybe, but I wouldn't recommend those family get rid of the dog and find another dog that you can handle, because if they do not do it right, they won't be able to do anything right. And not only that, what the parents are showing to those kids is that they are not problem solvers. They are not ones to be trusted because they can make wrong choices, and all kind of things that are actually, again, kids latent learning from their parents, raising them as a very poor leadership capable children of solving the problem, starting from the math at school, ending up in choosing the relationships and everything else. Life and responsibility of the parents are on high stake. Being a parent is not just some la-la land, I have a children and I'm doing this because the children are that comes with so much responsibility.
So what would you say the top priority responsibility is of the parent?
To be a leader, to live happy life. The responsibility of the parent is to be happy.
To who? To the children, right? As a parent, your responsibility is to create a safe and managed environment for your children to flourish and grow.
How can I create a
and
safe
also to lead by example of what's acceptable and what's not acceptable.
That only can do a happy person.
Okay.
The responsibility
so if I'm in an
parent,
abusive relationship with a spouse, for example, and I'm raising my children, and I've done my effort to try to make sure that my spouse understands that being in an abusive relationship is not healthy for me, not healthy for them, and not healthy for my children, but that person continues to be abusive throughout this course of this relationship, what example am I setting for my children at that point?
I'm sorry to start. It's not a leadership role. It's not a leadership behavior.
So what would the parent have to do to demonstrate to their children that they're going to take a stand?
Now you have, but again, I can be in an abusive relationship with my husband that I have a children with, and I can separate from that man from the level of the partnership, but I will never separate from him on the level of parenthood. That contract is forever. And my responsibility—
Unless he abuses the children.
My responsibility is to find a way to cherish that man as a father of my children. Because
he's hitting your children, or he's abusing your children.
It's
so
not,
if he's abusing your children, and it's an abusive relationship, or it's a narcissistic relationship, I would be giving a demonstration to my children that they don't have to accept that kind of a relationship if it's detrimental to themselves and their own children, their psychology. I would be encouraging my children, don't ever be in a relationship like this. You're greater than this, you're important to this, you need to have self-worth.
It won't happen, because I see that over and over and over in the family constellation therapy that I consult a lot with, and there is a way of how you can find a place in peace for your father. I had an abusive father, and now I was like, I wrote about that in my book, and I exposed that relationship, and he knows about a lot that we were talking about, and then on the other side, I find a peace with it. He is my father. And if I don't find him in my heart, I can become—
Well, did he abuse you or anything? Did he abuse you or something? Did your father abuse you?
I wrote about that in my book. A lot.
Okay.
And I was exposing that thing because
my stepfather was very abusive with me. And my mother, because of their religion, she stayed with my father. And they basically went to counseling and all kinds of those things. And he was also an alcoholic. So my stepfather was a part of my life until I was about 20 years old, because I was still living in the house with them. And my mother left when she couldn't have enough. And I was still there with my father until I decided to leave. But at this point in time, I rarely call my parents. And at this point in time, if I was ever in that same situation, and by the way, I have talked to my stepfather since then. And then my mother gets upset with me because she says, how can you talk to that man when he beats you up? Because I forgive him. But I have to tell my mom, hey, if I'm going to blame anybody, I'm going to blame you, because you didn't leave him when he was doing all of that to me. Why didn't you step up as a parent and say, we don't have to put up with this and leave? So she subjected me to that just as much as he did.
I was, for example, on the other side, my situation was that I was 16 when I left home. And I was like 16 when I went to school, and I said, okay, this is your choice. I was doing the same to my mom. I said, like, how you can do this? But then later on, I was like, kind of, okay, you do whatever you want with your life. I'm on my own. And that was when I started my journey. 16 years, I was like, baby. When I see my son at 16, I said, oh my God, like, was I really in this mindset when I made that decision to leave the home, to leave the country, to go to the school, to get my grandma to give me the money that she put down to funeral? He said, like, I can give you, because my course was $10,000. And she said, I said, please help me. I need this because, and then plus living expenses and everything. And she said, I don't have money. I have $2,000 that I left aside for my funeral, but I can give you that. And then she called her friend that gave her 1,000 more. And so I went to so I changed my entire world because I was strong enough to make that decision, being raised in that environment. So on one end, it was like pretty much, not that I justify anything what he does to me, both emotionally and physically, but what I do is I see that completely from the different perspective. There is place for him in my heart as a source of my life.
But you didn't stay in that. You didn't stay in that trauma. You left at 16, right?
And I handled that. I think like I'm still working on the things that I had experienced there. But we are again comparing humans to dogs. The dogs cannot leave the environment.
I'm not talking about the dog.
No, I'm telling you, because we said like humans are humans are how do you say, humans are victims of the abusive dogs. And I said,
I don't think it's good for either situation. If the dog stays in the situation and mauls a child, they're going to euthanize that dog anyway. I'm talking about the human. The human, their emotional entanglement of wanting to stay with this dog instead of caring about the safety of their children is completely backwards.
Yeah, because you want to make a responsibility on them. And you said, okay, now because you made the bad decisions that you bring the aggressive dog in a family, now suddenly you are the victim of your own choices. And now you need to make a good decision by putting that dog away. And because now because you think now the parents made a bad choice of bringing that dog in the family. That was the first bad choice they made. Mm-hmm. There is no excuse for,
and bad choices happen. People make bad choices and uneducated choices all the time.
That's a bad leadership.
It's not bad leadership. It's just a mistake.
But that's a bad leadership. You would say,
it's a bad leadership if you stay in that entanglement. That's bad leadership.
You cannot say that if we have a bad leadership on we have a bad president and we say, oh, I just make a stand. I made a mistake. I just fired those missiles.
I think there's a lot of people that voted wrong last term and are probably regretting. And yes, they made a mistake because either they were uneducated or they basically were brainwashed by marketing. But are they going to stay in that mistake and vote the same and keep the president for more years, regardless of how old he is? Or are they going to decide to change?
No, because you are not talking about the same level of responsibility. If the people...
I'm talking about greater responsibility. If you have children that are in danger, you should not be working on a dog's rehabilitation when you have children that are being hurt by their dog.
Can you
that they should be a parent first and be a dog owner second at that point.
I hear
you. Otherwise, they keep their family in perpetual trauma.
I hear you. But please hear what I have to say. They are in that position first because they made a bad choice.
Okay.
The bad choice of the leader. What I'm telling at this point, when the parents bring the aggressive dog to their children, is the same level if you would have a president that would click the button and say, oops, I just happened to nuclear bomb that city there because I made a mistake. That's the level of the responsibility every parent has over their children. It's not just, it's a mistake, because you're right, that dog can kill the child. Whose responsibility is that? To the dogs?
The parent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We finally made a circle around the entire course that I'm trying to say the entire this life.
I think you're totally misunderstanding me. So should a parent keep their family in that emotional trauma when they're not capable of working with a dog like that?
Yeah, and then I said like they shouldn't have a dog. If they turn that dog back to the shelter, they shouldn't have a dog until they do not pull up together their shit.
Okay, that's not what you said before though, but that's okay. What you said was they shouldn't own what I heard was they shouldn't own a dog at all.
Yeah, that's what I said.
That's not true.
Because
that's like me failing at football and then I should never play football again. There's a point where people learn as they learn through life experience And just because they picked one bad apple, for example, you just happened to date some guy and he was just
Oh
this
my
dream
God, there is
guy.
no bad dog. There is no, you like to present this dog like he's a bad apple. There is no bad dog in this planet. Every bad dog is an outcome
It's
of
not, there is tons of bad dogs,
No,
but
there
why
is
they're
none.
bad doesn't mean that they're villains.
No,
So you
they're
could be a
bad.
bad, you could be a bad person, but it was probably because of how you're raised, how society treated you. I'm not saying that you're innately evil. I'm just
Again,
saying that, yeah, there's
I
bad behavior all the time. That's
because
attacking a child is bad behavior.
Tony,
Whether you,
Tony, I
yeah,
have a choice to change or not. Dog does not have a choice. They
yes, they do
depend
have
on,
a choice to change.
but
Absolutely.
how the dog has a choice of change? How? Show me.
Well, if you're
Tell
working
me.
with a dog, you could raise its
No, no,
cognitive
no. You're
emotion to
not
have
working
better
with the dog.
self-awareness.
No, no, no. No, no. You're not working with the dog because in order for me to change, I need to work on myself. Explain me the situation in which dog can change on their own.
Blatantly.
Depending on someone.
Depending on the environment, but that's what I'm
Again,
saying is that that person
so
may
there you
not,
go.
that environment may not be the best learning environment for that dog, and then the parents should not own a dog like that for their environment.
Yeah, and then any dog they bring in their environment is gonna.
But it may not be because of their environment. That dog may have come that way because of someone else's environment, and that dog still is holding emotional trauma. Now, that person should not be responsible for that emotional trauma, especially when they have children or family that can get hurt, and especially they don't have the skill set or the knowledge to work on that.
They shouldn't choose that on the first hand. And if they already...
And so every animal shelter is going to be really fully transparent. What if that choice was a mistake?
It's not an excuse.
So, okay, so they make it, make a mistake.
Because,
they adopt a dog from a shelter.
Okay,
they make a mistake. They adopt a dog from a shelter. And then, by the way, I'm not upset at all. And I'm enjoying this conversation. So I'm just trying to get verification. So if someone adopts a dog that they thought is going to be a great dog for their kids, they bring it home and it ends up being child aggressive. And it's not the dog's fault. It's whatever past trauma that dog came with, probably previous owners. That owner should stick with that dog and make an attempt to rehabilitate that dog, despite that those issues weren't issues that they developed on their own.
Okay, hear me now.
Okay.
The dog was in a shelter. There is no previous problem of the child abuse. Nothing, none. They bring the dog home, and the children immediately, yeah, my amazing little baby new brother, straight into the dog's face, and he bites back.
Okay.
Whose responsibility is that? Children's?
Parents.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. Can you explain to me? You worked with the dogs. You worked with the wolves. They're very much predatory and territorial animals. Will they ever happen to them mistakenly to go to the other territory and paying the price for being just a little bit killed because they made a mistake?
So if that is going to take time to get the dog through that, if that's going to take time to train the dog through that confusion, should those parents take on the responsibility of training that dog, no matter how long it takes, while their children are in danger?
Because every dog can put a child in danger if the surrounding environment to that dog living in that environment is not up to the standards of the dog's need for the leadership.
And if the owner has emotional entanglement because they've wanted a golden retriever for so long that they don't give that dog away, or they blame the child for putting their face in the dog and they want to keep that dog,
that's a bad
leadership. Is that a healthy environment?
That's a bad leadership because you shouldn't blame your child for your own mistakes.
Yeah, and I don't think that the parent should even keep that dog.
So again, I'm here advocating for the right of the animal to have right environment in which they can grow and develop themselves without this humanization effect of oh, if I'm in a relationship with my dog that's aggressive,
it's not a humanization, it's a universe. It's just humanizing. Just so you know, anthropomorphism in behavior is very healthy. Anthropocentric behavior is not very healthy in universities when dealing with animals. And in comparative psychology, we're comparing the comparative psychology of what we all have in common, not the differences.
Yeah, but again,
so as far as me using the analogy of being in an abusive relationship, it is very much the same. It's not anthropomorphism. It's actually the body doesn't know the difference whether the abuse is coming from a standpoint of a dog that's causing disruption in the family, or it's being caused by the spouse that's being disrupted in the family. And also the children have emotional trauma as a result of that as well. So
but that emotional trauma actually comes from the lack of leadership in the family on the first place. And
the leadership should be not to have that dog.
But yeah, of course.
Yeah. So I don't understand where the disagreement is then.
But there is no disagreement. It's kind of like the entire time I'm just putting up the questions that I kind of like I don't hear.
You're basically saying that the owners, if they're caught in a situation like that, and the owner and the parent has to say, you know what, I'm going to be the leader here. This dog's not living here. It's got a lot of trauma. We don't have the expertise or the resources to work on this. And while we're working on it, even if it takes 6 to 12 months, it puts the children in danger. And then they decide, you know what, this was an incorrect decision on our part. So we're going to return this dog to the shelter. They shouldn't get a second chance of doing it correctly the second time around and getting a dog. They should, right? They should be able to educate themselves. Maybe go with a breeder, maybe hire a trainer.
Like we are throwing this life of the dog like it's just kind of some frisbee that we can take it and throw it back and put it there because we are not ready and we just made a mistake. Oh, it's not a big deal. It is a big deal. It's a life of the dog on a stake. If it will be second time returned to the shelter, you're going to be killed.
Okay, so then what? Okay, so then tell me what should I do? What would be the advice to parents that got a dog with good intentions, put their child in the hospital 2 or 3 times already? They've been working with a trainer and they don't have the right resources. What would be the best advice for those people with that dog?
To change the trainer.
To change what?
To change the trainer and find a way to help the dog and the children, to show the children that you made a mistake and you fucking own the mistake and go through it. Because every single time when you're going to do that, and I just made a mistake, let me return this dog. And then I raised okay, maybe we should just take a little dog, and if they bite, they're going to not bite as much. But then the Chihuahua can torn the lip apart. How do you get a dog to bite your lips? Because the children want to kiss them. And they don't want to kiss them, just kissing them.
What if it was just a child sitting on the couch? The child's sitting on the couch and the dog's biting the child because it's.
You think that the dogs? You think that the dogs, as a resource guarding expression, can decide to do something if that doesn't involve guarding something?
They're guarding the couch. If a child's sitting on the couch and the dog bites the child, it's still resource guarding.
What the dog has to do on the couch if the dog has a resource guarding abilities. Don't.
Why is the dog? Are you saying why is the dog on the couch to begin with?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. But while the parents are learning how to do all of this, it's still putting the kids in danger. So what happens with that while they're going through this learning lesson, while they're going through this program of learning how to rehabilitate this dog, what happens with the children in the meantime?
What happened with the dog?
And also, are you going to trust that there won't be any mistakes during that process? Somebody won't leave a door open accidentally, or
again we are talking about this. Oh, I want to be responsible, but not too much. I can just leave a door accidentally open. Why are we thinking that the people are so dumb that they cannot learn when they're inspired to do so?
Have you worked with a lot of behavioral cases? Because I work with dumb people all the time.
Yeah, but now I try to find a way to play in interest of the humans and the dog at the same time. Because it's an easiest, Tony, I can't comprehend enough how easy it is to give up. how easy it is to give up on dog, on things like that. And we were just usually the darkest night is just before the sunrise. And how do we know that actually maybe just a couple of more days wouldn't open that relationship to a blooming, beautiful environment in which the kids would see, oh my God, you can end up in a trouble in life like this, to face such a danger to your life, and you are able to take it around.
Or they can learn that their parents value the dog over the child, and then that can create a lot of resentment from the children and the parents. But the other thing I was going to mention too is that I'm not saying that the parents shouldn't make an effort to help the dog, but if this is putting children in danger and this is going to be a lengthy process, I would choose my children over the dog. You wouldn't do the same?
But I would do the same by not having a dog that I'm not ready for. But I'm not the guy. You're not talking to a right guy, because I never backed up from any project I took on my shoulder. And served me to this life like amazingly. I never backed up. Once I said yes, the world can collapse. I'm gonna be and doing that no matter how much I need to suffer. But that told me a lesson. Better think 50 times before you say yes. Try to be responsible leader to the people you care for, that depend on you, and not just throw the life around like this snowflake. I can have a dog today, I cannot have it tomorrow, because that life depends on it. Would I play with the animal like that? It's kind of like the same way, like I don't care about what's going on in a slaughterhouse, but I like my bacon. I don't care about how those animals are living that life on a farm, but I like my eggs. I don't care about what's going on in that eyes of the cow before she got to get killed, but I like my steak, right? It's the same process with the people, but this world that we are trying to develop, this like nonsense of the world where this responsibility for anything does not exist. That's kind of the world I see fade off on our own kind of like, how you say, on our own cost. The world, the globe, the nature, it will thrive. Whatever we do with the CEOs, global warmings, electric cars, no cars, these cars, pollutions and everything is going to thrive. It's going to get polluted so much that we're going to kill us ourselves. We're going to bulb all the oxygen from this planet. We're going to kill everything that there is to be killed. And in 2 million years, that in evolution of the earth is nothing. There will be again some green tree starting to bloom again. And there will be some new mankind to be found out that are going to maybe live a much responsible life than we lived. This is so vague culture that we are living, or woke culture that we are living in now, thinking that there is something, someone else always to blame for. And now because I made wrong choices, now I need to become a victim of my own choices. And I need to blame that animal for, no, now you're going to go back to the shelter. And because I'm returning you and I'm going to be third responsible parent that returned this dog to a shelter, and finally it's going to get euthanized. And then because I made no effort, I protected my children from the aggressive dog. Now I put that dog on a death row. Because we don't have a sense of those dogs and animals being sentient beings, having a sole purpose, interacting with us in both senses, when it's good, but also when it's bad, to be by their side and have their back.
I respect a sentient being, but the sentient being also has to have mutual understanding and respect, and as far as the harmonization and what's causing harmony or disharmony within that family unit.
Yeah, they
but
do
even wolves will push an uncooperative wolf out of the pack.
Yeah, they would, but it's a member of the family.
Yeah,
it didn't came invited. It didn't came invited in a family by mistake.
Yes, sometimes it has. So a lot of times when there's lone wolves will get adopted by another pack.
They would.
And also if that wolf doesn't fall in line with that pack structure, that wolf will get eradicated as well.
They would, that wolf wouldn't get eradicated anymore. It's going to get killed. And you have, because every single time,
not necessarily always got killed unless it refuses to leave, but
they wouldn't, because once they because once they get in the pack, usually the only way they can get in the new pack would be on the alpha position, because something happened to some of the alpha pair. So the alpha girl or alpha female would let them in, and they would mate together, and they would immediately have a puppy. So there is no chance for that dog to be kicked out for that pack once that lone wolf become member of the pack, it can become by either becoming a father or being a mother to a cubs.
Yeah.
After that,
but in either case, if there's disharmony in the pack is going to push out what's causing the disharmony.
Yeah, but
they're not going to live with it forever.
They wouldn't let him in on the first place. Because
not usually, no, but there are occasions where they do, and so there's occasions where mistakes do happen.
Every single study I read about wolf, and 3 times I was on a wolf watching, the people that were talking us about, they said, like, do you see what's going on now in between them? He said, like, that lone wolf is vowing and whatever they're doing, they're talking, and he said, like, he wants to approach, but he knows that he plays, or she, 2 times I was able, out of 3 times I was doing the wolf watching, 2 times to see interaction with the pack and a lonely wolf. Of course, I didn't see nothing. They were just telling us what's going on and explaining us what potential of that is. And there is a lot of nice documentaries on the YouTube you can watch, and I suggest everyone to watch, like Yellowstone Recovery Project and the Druid life of the Yellowstone pack wolves. And they said, like, every single time the lone wolf approaches or being invited inside the pack, they said they are so careful because they know that one wrong move can cost them life. If not ready to be accepted inside, what can happen if the lonely wolf approaches the pack? The one thing that can happen is one of the younger daughters, if it's a male, one of the younger daughters to go out with him, and they two go, and then they form their own pack. That's the one way. When the lonely wolf comes closer to a pack, and one girl or boy, depending on the different sex, is actually going with it, so it's kind of it's not going to be part of the wolf pack. The other part of the wolf pack, the only way to wolf pack to become a member of the pack is to replace one of the alpha pairs. But that, in order to let them in the pack, they are like trying to find observing that wolf, like with that how you call that, magnifying glass, 360 degree, not to make a wrong decision. Once accepted, it's going to probably mate like next day. Once becomes the father or the mother to the offspring within the pack, it's going to never leave it.
Yeah. I think we're getting close to the tail end of our podcast. I think we're going over, but as far as what my perception is, and I know your perception is different, but my perception is, if you have the capability of rehabilitating a dog and you have the resources and the help, whether it's from you or from me, I can understand seeing things through. But if you're dealing with a difficult case that's going to take time and your kids are in danger, I'm choosing the kids every single time. And I don't feel that person shouldn't be able to own another dog. I just feel that they need to make better choices and decisions and do their due diligence and research before they get another dog, but not necessarily that it's off the table that they shouldn't own one to begin with. Mistakes do happen. And when mistakes happen, the responsibility is you see it through, but if your family is in danger or it's causing disharmony amongst your children, which becomes a whole traumatic issue as well, as far as their future, as far as wanting to own a dog in the future, that it shouldn't be something that you should force your family to endure because you feel that you need to rehabilitate this dog and it's going to take months or even a year. So I think when there's children involved that don't have a choice and they're caught in an abusive environment, I think it's a good way for CPS to get called. I think it's a good way for CPS to get called for a parent that's going to want to rehabilitate the dog over the safety of their children.
You know, kind of like I would love for that kind of environment to be, you know, I would love some law to come in place, because if you get bankrupt with your money because you didn't know what to do with it, you get 7 years debt on your record and try to get any card or any loan, buy the house or the house because you made a mistake. And now you should own and learn how you should manage money, but not you.
There is a law. There is, well, it's not a fur law, but there is something like that already. It's called the credit score.
Yeah. I get that. That should be in place for the dog ownership. And then try to kind of like ruin someone's life and put someone on a death road because you just made a mistake. I would love that to be in your dog ownership score. So you get 3 times better look up or check up next time when you show up on someone's door, and then that kind of like shelter or a breeder or whatever needs to give you the dog only if your score is over 720. I think that's
when it involves children, I think the score should go towards the children. I think the parent needs to be applauded for, you know, not subjecting children to the dangers of an aggressive dog and their family. That
they caused on the first hand by bringing a dog in the family. That's like for me, again, I'm advocating for the responsible parenthood. That means that there is I cannot understand like how the parent that the child's life depend on the life of the children depend on the research of the parents, of their choices, of their understanding, not only because I gonna impact my child with my choices, my child gonna learn from me. I gonna set them for the life with what I think it's right and what I do. And now kind of again you're trying to kind of like, I applaud to the children, but I applaud to the children as well for having the parents that are responsible parents to do their research before they made the choices. Because if that would be the way we raise our kids, I would just imagine this world disappear in a couple of generations, because there will be no people that can make normal decisions because exactly
have you it sounds like you don't make a lot of mistakes. Do you make any mistakes?
That's not true. I make mistakes, but I own them.
That's human nature, is to make mistakes.
Yeah, but I don't play with the others' lives.
Including your children?
Including including anyone. If I would take a dog from the shelter, I would never return it for no matter what cost.
Even if it put your dog in the hospital, the one that you currently have?
Again, you're telling like nothing can be done. You can separate children. You can separate the dog. You can have a dog muzzled.
So we're going to play music and chairs with the children and tell them don't come out yet. Just so you know, I've owned a dog like this around my children.
So it can be done.
Mistakes happen. And dangers happen. So, for example, when I was doing a consultation once, and I had to leave my consultation early because my children came home from school, and we had a dog named Jaws, which was an old English bulldog. They're like a taller version of an English bulldog, and somehow he broke out of his crate when the children got home, and they were locked in their bathroom until I can get home from work. So I had to leave work early because my children were trapped in the bathroom with this dog that got out of its crate. Mistakes happen, dangers happen all the time, regardless of how many checklists you make. There's always a chance of danger, and it's children are not worth putting in that danger.
Then let's don't send the children out on the street because they can be hit by the car.
Children don't get sent on the street because of all kinds of dangers that are out there right now. It's not like I was in the 80s when I was young. I could ride my bike and be back by evening, and my parents were just happy that I survived. But today there's all kinds of dangers.
The children should learn that this is a dangerous world, and then in order to learn how to navigate through this life, they cannot be raised as snowflakes.
But they also have to be nurtured, protected, and they have to have an environment in which they can have those lessons that don't cause them death.
And that responsible parent should not take the dog in the home on the first hand.
Yeah, yeah. So when they make the mistake, what should they do? If they make a mistake, what should they do?
I said, I changed it's because you cannot find a trainer that can fix the problem. It shouldn't be a price for that, putting that dog down. That's what I cannot understand, how we cannot agree on that. Because what you are telling me here is that if the family cannot deal with that dog, they should take it back to a shelter, and then shelter can decide will they put that dog down or not, right?
Well, yeah, they should either find another home for the shelter, find a trainer that will take it, or return it to the shelter, where the shelter can re-adopt it out to somebody that doesn't have children.
Or kill the dog, right?
Or euthanize the dog.
That doesn't cross my mind. I can't see me being part of such a decision that, based on my decision somewhere down the road, this animal that I...
Would you rather have a euthanized dog, or would you rather have your dead child? Which one do you want to bury?
I must tell you honestly, I need to own my mistakes. And now if you are asking me to choose in between two lives, you want me to go and say, yeah, I want my children.
You got to do preventive measures. A lot of working with animals and working with people is preventative measures. Right?
No, I get it, but then let's don't own dogs because they can kill us. Simply as that.
Not all dogs do that, though.
Now we're gonna end up coming back to a PETA solution. Like, yeah, occasionally people shouldn't have pets, and if you want a pet, you just buy the fluffy toy and have a toy. Leave the animal.
Well, not all dogs. I feel that the majority of dogs don't do that, but I feel that there are dogs that do that. When you have dogs like that, an educated decision is better than having a dead child.
I think like we opened a lot of good topics here, regardless this disagreement where I always...
It's not a disagreement. Just so you know, a disagreement is a killer energy word. We're just discussing and getting to know one another, but it doesn't have to be a disagreement. I don't have to disagree with you. I understand your point of view.
There you go. Okay.
My perception of that's what I would do, but it doesn't mean that I'm fighting with you or disagreeing with you. I'm not taking that conversation away at all.
How would you call this little different point of view?
It's just a different point of view.
Oh, so it's not a disagreement.
No, I mean, it's not a disagreement where I feel like I need to convince you to think how I'm thinking, or you need to convince me to see your point of view. It's two different perceptions. My perception is I'm always for the safety of the children. If I feel this is a case they can't handle, I'm gonna tell them to return the dog. I'm not gonna try to resolve that case for them or tell them that they need to see it through to prove to their children that they're responsible. I think it does quite the opposite, actually.
Yeah, I get that.
But your perception is different, and that's fine.
Yeah, because I think like I don't want to come up like some out here like someone that doesn't like a children, and I would like who, if you have a dog, the dog is always right, and the children are the children and the dogs are oftentimes emotionally abused by their parents, wanting them the best, because that's exactly where this emotional abuse happen. If I cannot inspire my kids not to ask for me chocolate for the breakfast, dinner, and lunch, I'm gonna be buying them insulin on the age of 10 because they're gonna develop diabetes. Does that make me be wrong parents? And I would say yes. Those kind of parents I would send to prison, because that level of responsibility that the parents have over their kids is such a high level of we need to be leaders like an alpha pair is to their pack. No mistakes, because otherwise the life is on a stake. And literally, if I would just go, oh my God, I love you. What do you want for food? Oh, Mom, I want a chocolate for the dinner. I want a key lime pie for lunch, and I want a ice cream for dinner. Okay, baby, whatever you say. Now, from one say, I would say, yeah, that's a good parent. Fulfills all the wishes of their child. And then 10 years later, this little child doesn't have any more pancreas. And he probably going to battle some of the heart disease and obesity and whatever. All of that is a responsibility that we should like look ourselves in the mirror and say, which kind of parent I want to become?
Mhm.
But how can I become a parent of any kind if I'm going to a job I don't like? I'm still married to a people. I still go to the parties with the people I hate. I just don't know how to tell them that I'm sick of their birthdays and Thanksgivings and everything else. Just I'm doing because it's some custom that I don't know how to break. That's what the children and the dogs feel that. And no matter, we can pretend that we are something on this social media and that we are something that we are not.
Yeah.
But
So I mean, it kind of goes into the same concept that, you know, if you're in a job that you don't like, you should leave that job. You shouldn't be obligated to stay in that job because your grandfather worked there once.
yeah, and
Or be right. So and I feel the same way with relationships. If you're in a poor relationship, whether it's with a human or a dog, and you've done everything in your power to rectify the situation, but you're realizing it's causing emotional trauma to you, emotional trauma to maybe the other coworkers you have. It's an unhealthy environment that you have to.
Like, tell me, just a little more Google search can bring those people to me and you. Is there any excuse for them not to enroll in such of these programs? If they said they need the resources, they can contact me. I'll drive them for free through that program. I think that if they would come to you and tell you like, well, I'm sorry, I'm about to give this dog away. I tried all the trainers. I can't afford anyone else. Can you help me? Would you refuse those people or no?
I would help them, but I would also tell them that realistically, this can take 6 to 12 months, and I would start telling them everything that we need to do. But once they realize that that's not going to be possible, or they're not in a position that they can make sure they follow directions exactly, I don't think they should own that dog, especially if their children are in danger.
And why you think they wouldn't follow up the program? Because they're stupid?
Because being in this program isn't easy because it changes your perception of how you think and how you should react when dogs do things incorrectly. And a lot of times people are fighting emotional habits that they have that keep them in a perpetual state of making the same mistakes with their dog. But in that time while they're learning how to do that, or while the family is learning to grow through that, if you're having a dog with a basic behavioral issue, it's not any problem. I think you should see it through and you should grow through that. But if there's children or people in danger because this dog has hurt people or put people in the hospital, I don't think that that's a program that you should sign up for. You're in a dangerous situation, and the trainer or whoever you're working with has to take on some of that responsibility of, hey, I'm thinking of you, your family, and your kids. What I have to teach you isn't easy to learn. I've been doing this for 30 years. And you're dealing with a dog that could quite possibly put your kid in a hospital.
Now you put yourself in the position of taking burden of the owner. That's what you was talking about. Like a little, you was talking about that, and I said I applaud to this because that's really right. And that's what I was trying to get back a couple of times in my thoughts. I just didn't articulate, but maybe now that can be a closing. We are also close to 3 hours talking about this now.
Which is,
yeah, but what there is very important, what you just said, is that the trainer is responsible for what's going on to happen to their dog. And that's, again, thinking that the people are not strong enough to go through their own process. And that's actually preventing them from, that we oftentimes hear in family constellation circle as a entanglement. And now what you said, that if trainer takes responsibility, that actually belongs to owner. My responsibility is to teach you. But the teaching doesn't happen in me. It needs to be learned by you. Mm-hmm. And that responsibility I cannot take on myself. Mm-hmm. And that is where you stop being responsible for the outcome of your actions, because you need to, of your learning. You need to put, and I am seeing that in my students. I have like over 100,000 students through my this coaching career, or all kinds. So I see a lot of people, and I can kind of group them in not too many groups, but I already know who gonna give themselves to a program, I'm talking about my students in school, right? Like professors. And I already know like what I can expect from them as a students and later on as a professionals. And I don't take a slightest time of their responsibility on myself. but I take a full responsibility for me teaching the class. How much of that's going to be taken by them? It's also on them, because, and I encourage them all the time. Tell me you don't understand. Tell me that it's not enough. Tell me that you need more. Tell me that you need a private class. I'll come in on Sunday, on Saturday, overnight. I'll do everything. If I see, I don't need to see anything. I cannot go there and ask, did you understand me? I need to encourage them to tell me, I don't understand what you are talking because of the accent. I cannot follow, whatever it's. Okay, do you want me to come in on Sunday? Do you want me? I'm available 24/7 to teach you, not to do it instead of you. And with that encouragement, with that responsibility, when the responsibility is put back where it does belong, that's a very important part. When the responsibility is at who is belong, who has the biggest responsibility in everything that we were talking about today? Parent. They have a responsibility to make a decision. Do I need a dog now when I'm raising a child? Or the dog is actually trying, usually what they would say, oh, I need a dog because it's not enough for my child to have a iPhone anymore, the tablet, they are watching Netflix entire day. Maybe they need a dog. What actually they need is a parent. They need a parent. They need a love. They need the parents to see them, to inspire them, to talk to them, to ask what you need, what you want, what are my desires. So all of this that we are doing now, the parents are making this. Oh, maybe I can give him a dog so he can play with the dog rather than the tablet. No, the kids needs parents. And responsibility of the parents is to be there for the kids and ensure them how much they are loved. That's the only thing, that's the only job the parents have, to be happy, because out from that happiness, the right choice is going to be made. And the other thing is to communicate with their kids how much the kids are loved, regardless how great they are in the school, how great the friends they have. No matter, is my kid the drug addict? Is my kid the president of the United States or the Serbia or the homeless people or Tesla or priest or whatever? No matter what his destiny turned to be, I'm proud of them and I love them, and nothing they do.
So why can't you have that and still have a dog?
You can, but then I don't see this, what you are talking about, happen.
Well, if you get the wrong dog from a shelter that you didn't know.
The happiness on its own will prevent you to do that. You're just making a decision based on the frequency of your mind. You will never end up having a dog like that.
So are you saying that all my dogs I own are because I'm unhappy? Oh, the dog you have a dog right now because you're unhappy? That doesn't make any sense.
No. I said aggressive dog.
Okay. But what if you didn't know the dog was aggressive to begin with?
What?
What if you didn't know that was an aggressive dog to start off with?
Did you heard of law of attraction?
Yes.
You would never invite in your life dog that's not aggressive if you wouldn't need to work on your aggression. Did you read my book?
No, I didn't read it thoroughly, but that doesn't mean that also means that you have to protect your energy. That means that, just so you know, there's bad people in the world, right? Just because somebody broke into your house today doesn't mean that you attracted it.
No, so now the law of attraction work. If only everything I attract to my life is abandoned and everything. But it doesn't work if something happened wrong to me. That's the biggest, that's the biggest.
Well, I mean, I don't understand how the law, okay. If your child is manifesting, I want a dog, I'd love to have a dog, I watched the Lassie show or whatever, and I can't wait to get a dog, and everything is great and everything's awesome, the family, and they decide, you know what? We're going to get him a dog for his birthday, but we're going to rescue a dog because we believe in adopting, not shopping. And then you do your due diligence, you get this dog, and you don't realize that not everything was forthcoming, and all of a sudden you realize, oh, wow, this dog is dog aggressive.
There you need to stop. If this is the story that you are telling, that if there is a shelter with 1,001 dog, and those 1,000 dogs are aggressive because had something with something bad happened to them, and there is one dog that is perfect as an angel, that family that you just described to me, gonna go to that kennel and pick up that dog like it's only one in that kennel. If once you go through the book and you understand how that important point of we are getting in our life what we need to grow, either is bad or good, relationships and everything can get us to the, look at what happened, what is the outcome of my childhood?
So
what is an outcome of, and how many
so
other
so if you're attracting lessons in your life as well, that's not necessarily a bad thing. So for example, it might, that having a dog that you happen to have that happened to be aggressive, rather than seeing it all the way through 6 to 8 months and putting your children in that emotional trauma, deciding you're going to rehome that dog could energetically, with the law of attraction, save that child from a future relationship where they were in a similar predicament, or maybe they're in an abusive relationship with a spouse and realize, you know what, my parents didn't put up with this crap, I'm not putting up with this crap either. I need to make sure that I always remain happy and that I'm attracting what I want and not trying to salvage what I don't want.
If you're going to see how that happens, usually, if we run away from the relationship that we don't like, the next one coming is worse than the one we are out from. So it's not. The answer is no, because that's running away from the possibility to grow. And my challenge...
I don't agree you should be in any form of an abusive relationship, because it's a process of growth.
Again, because
I believe the process is you need to have more confidence in yourself, know your worth, and not allow yourself to be in that situation. And if you have to leave, or you have to ask them to leave, they should leave. Yeah, I think if you want to make a conceited, I think if you want to make an effort to repair that relationship and give it its due diligence, you can. But once you realize that it's putting you, your family, or your children in danger, I don't feel that's something that you should do. And I don't believe that it's something you necessarily attract. I think maybe the universe has its way of seeing things through. I think you could be the rising phoenix through a traumatic situation, and there's growth through that. But I don't think you need to remain in the fire and the ashes and not ever become a phoenix because you wanted to sit there in the brim of fire.
Just the one thing here need to be clarified is that the human have a choice, and occasionally they're gonna go out one way or the other from the abusive relationship. The dog does not have a choice. The dog depend on wherever they live, and depend on some little wish of the family to throw them out, or to put them there, or to put them here. It's not the same concept when a woman is in abusive, or the man is an emotionally abusive relationship to a woman, or whatever the dynamic goes there. The consciousness of those both humans are giving them a chance to do with their life whatever.
So the human has a choice to stay in the relationship regardless if the dog is a man or a dog. The human has the choice to subject their children to that or not.
How the dog can
I know the dog doesn't have a choice of his predicament, but the human does.
But then that's actually immediately answers the everything that we are turning this wheel around the entire night. And we can end up here.
Yeah, sure.
Yes. Because I think like we raised a lot of nice questions, I guess, can be curated out from this night. Because I think there is a perception of this emotional attachment to dogs, that they can cause the harm. And I say the dogs, I kind of like that would be, let's both of us put a point and say one sentence to make our claim condensed. So I would say that dogs are reactive to the environment that they are placed into. And if the environment is putting around the dog the structure and the leadership structure of the pack and the group with the leadership in place, the dog have no other choice to surrender to that group and to give up reactive and guarding resources that we kind of label as a aggressive behavior. The dogs are aggressive because they are guarding something from someone, for someone. The moment that need of their behavior disappears, they are stop guarding. Then how do we see that they stopped guarding? They are not resource. They don't see anything resource anymore. They stop guarding it because they trust we are guarding it. That's the moment when the aggressivity disappears. And the only way to do that is to create an environment in which the leadership will be taken over by the humans, especially by the older ones in a family. If that happens, I saw dogs from, I can tell you like how aggressive they were, almost like in no time turning into babies that are completely surrendered to a family they trust. And from that perspective of my experience, putting any dog back to a shelter is kind of like playing with that gamble, putting someone's life on gamble. How much this is going to cost them? I don't know. Maybe they're going to kill them, maybe not. But it's not my to worry anymore. I tried my best. Did you? If you had the Google to come up to the conscious life of you, even if you say, I can do this, before they talk to me, that maybe I will say also, I can do this. You need to find someone else. But there must be one in the world to help them overcome the problem before they give up. So giving up, it's not a solution. Because if I give up today on dogs, how can I prove to my kids that I won't give up on them tomorrow?
Because you're choosing them over the dog.
Yeah, but how do I know that sometime else I won't choose something else over them? Myself, for example.
You're leading by example that you're always going to choose them over an abusive spouse or an abusive dog. So they know that you have their back and they know that you're going to support them. You should show them responsibility, absolutely. But if there's any form of danger for them or others, you have to show them that you have their back. I guess my closing statement is when you're dealing with children and aggression, you're a parent first before you're a dog owner.
Thank you so much for this, I guess, like wonderful evening. I'm really excited to see where this gonna, how this gonna resonate with the audience, and then which kind of, how can I say, feedbacks we can get, and which direction we can take on our next show.
Yeah,
I can't wait for next Wednesday to see you back and to see.
I think we should also have like encourage people to comment, to ask questions as well. You know, and bring up subjects that they want to talk about.
I think this episode, I think even, I don't know how we went live now, but I think it's like topic that we picked up here and the discussion that we had and the point of views, I think like were like, this is very triggering topic. It was for both of us. And I can't wait to see how our audience perceive this. So
yeah, well, just so you know, I have all the love in the world for you. So I totally respect your opinion, and yeah, I mean, I understand your heart is towards the dog and stuff. I just understand we just have that difference, but it's not bad either way.
There you go. I love you back, and I have nothing, just love for you, and I can't wait for the next week again. See you everyone tomorrow, next Wednesday, 7:30. Next Wednesday, 7:30 Eastern time. Love you.